Hey, everybody. I'm slowly but surely, I think, coming online here. Let's see. Hey, there we go. Hey. Hi, how are you? It's Bo. It's your old pal. We haven't talked in a while. Sorry about that. But we'll get into that. We'll talk about some stuff. Hey, it's great to be here. It's October. It is the Halloween season. I could not be more excited to be with you, to be chit-chatting, to be talking about Halloween and horror stuff. Very excited to be doing so. Yeah, and we will we'll get into some shit. So, okay, first things first. Let's do what we normally do to kick things off. And let's talk about what's been going on around the Old Beach and Podcast Network, right? Come with me, won't you? I've got some weird lighting going on. I'm kind of digging it. So here's what's been happening. Obviously I'm not going to go over everything that we have talked about, or every show that has come out since last we spoke, almost a month ago. But so let's just do everything, all the shows that have come out in the past week. How about that? How about we agree on that, people? So let's get into podcast by the Cemetery, bonus episode number 1 on the movie The Void, which is a movie I think is okay to not great, but I'm curious what the same folks behind The Void might do next. Who Will Survive, bonus episode number 13, featuring Low Life and Wrong Cops with Mark Burnham. The guys over at Who Will Survive continuing to hold it down with some interviews and some conversations with creators, which I continue to enjoy and be very excited about. Rabbit and Red Radio's continuing their slasher summer, kind of wrapping it up with the triple feature finale, where they're talking about Blood Harvest, Drive-In Massacre, is Hell Night in that mix? I can't remember now. At any rate, here's what I like about Rabbit and Red, just between us, between you fine folks and myself. I like the fact that at any point it sounds like John might kill Mike. So I encourage you, if you have not, checked that show out, it's worth your time. It's a fun show, and there's a real Pinky in the Brain kind of vibe to it. That's probably somewhat insulting, and I don't mean it dismissively. If you haven't listened to Rabbit and Red, listen to Rabbit and Red Radio. Another episode of Who Will Survive, episode 16, doing their first volume of the 31 reviews of October. Doing some sexy review in there. Speaking of that, Devour the Podcast bonus episode featuring this guy, yours truly, doing the so I started doing the Spooktember was the idea that I was going to watch a horror movie a day because Halloween was frankly just too busy to try to do that. And then, life intervened and I was not able to do that. I was not able to continue that recording. So we're going to shift it to this month. So we're doing Spooktober, TM, copyright this guy. And I think somebody beat me to the punch on that one. But anyway, so the first 7 movies I watched in October are there, which was like Jigsaw and Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom and Mandy and The Monster Project and Arbor Demon and Be My Cat, and I'm forgetting something. But yeah, so if you're interested in hearing my thoughts on any of those movies, then check it out. Also, the Shotcast number 67, catching up on all my editing. The Shotcast number 67, we talk a bunch about Marvel Spider-Man and also mortality, strangely. So if you're interested in some video game conversation, Shotcast number 67 out now. Hello, this is the Doom Show, an episode called Trick or Treats, which features the movie Trick or Treats, but also ends with, is it Brad? No. Simon? I forgot who's with Richard on that one. I apologize. But anyway, they do a couple of PSAs about Halloween on the back end of that episode, and it's really good. Like, look, any Hello, This is the Doom Show is good. Hello, This is the Doom Show. But this is a particularly fine episode, and I highly recommend it. Also, Friday the 13th, doing a horror hookup with the guys at Cocktail Party Massacre. It's not a show that's on our network, but we've kind of chatted with them on Twitter, or I have. I don't know what you've done. I don't know your life. Not totally. But let's talk about it. No, the Cocktail Party Massacre is another, and I hesitate to use this word because I feel like I'm not appropriately in the club, but they describe it this way as another queer horror podcast. And it's a great episode. It for as I often describe myself, a heteronormative guy such as myself, listening to the Friday guys and the guys from Cocktail Party Massacre just kind of chit chat about movies, and they also talk a little bit about the Brett Kavanaugh hearings and so forth. This was just prior to his confirmation, and it feels like I'm kind of behind. Not enemy lines, because we're all friends here, but it's like you're listening in on a conversation that you aren't necessarily invited to, but it's fascinating because just like anything, it's you're kind of eavesdropping on a culture that I am not natively part of. But it's not, they're not pushing anybody away, not pushing any listeners away or nothing. It's just a really fun conversation, and it feels like they talk about like coming out to their parents and stuff, and it's just one of those things that feels very personal, but it's the nature of podcasting, right? That you just have these conversations with listeners that turn out to be kind of intimate, strangely intimate. And it's a great show. It's a very funny episode. Like, they get down to just being silly at the end of it, but it's a really good episode. So check that one out. It's the Friday Horror Hookup, they call that. Just came out a few days ago. And the Cinema Beef Podcast number 125, titled Geeks of Unsuspecting Destruction, talking about the movie Real Genius and Big Hero 6. And I think both of those are fine movies, and also, as the title suggests, that it's about, folks who are inadvertently doing heinous shit. And that feels surprisingly timely. Also, Pick 6 Movies dropped episode 3 of season 3. This season is called Monsters Are Universal. The episode in question is on the Tom Cruise version of The Mummy. And basically, it devolves into us doing impressions of Nick Nolte and Steve Buscemi. So I hope you enjoy the Pick 6 Movies. I enjoy it. And what else did we have come out? Witch versus the Doomsday Clock, week 58, 9 hours, 45 minutes, Doomsday, the blizzard called Oz, where the witch is discussing the film Girl Slaves of Morgana Le Fay. And again, that's another one of those shows that if you're not listening to Witch versus the Doomsday Clock, first of all, it's bite-sized. It's one of the shortest shows on the network. It's only like 20 minutes long. 15 to 30 is where that show lands, which is not long enough for me to get to work even. But it's some of the most creative editing. And I recently discovered that my own voice pops up a lot in sound clips on that show. So, that goes to my narcissism, my innate narcissism, and I like that. Psychosemantic Podcast, episode number 44, on the confirmation of Brett Kavanaugh, and a little bit of discussion about, Anita Hill and that sort of thing. So the political arm of Legion Podcast with Darren Wilson, definitely check that out. Cinema Psyops, episode 164, doing the movie stack Jenga, as per usual these days, on a film called Black Candles. And last but certainly not least, just recently we got Who Will Survive, episode 17. More reviews of October, volume 2, drop in there. So more Halloween goodness. And so that is what is new to the network, and more stuff coming soon. Like, I'll have another review roundup probably Wednesday, and another Pick 6 on Friday, and then everybody else will be doing their thing, so it'll be cool. Who's here? Abraham's here. Darth Moocher. Who's Darth Moocher? I forget, you guys, but welcome. Thanks for being here. Thanks for hanging out. So what to talk about? I'm okay. Well, I got a bunch of stuff to talk about. So let's start with kind of what's been going on with me, and I apologize. Like, there's a lot of stuff that we have been meaning to do. Like, we had a big episode of Devour the Podcast planned for this month that is not going to work out because I just haven't had the time. We've still got another episode coming, but we're kind of playing makeup on the September episode. And at any rate, so kind of the long and short of it is very suddenly my mom got real sick, and very, very sick, got diagnosed with cancer, and within a couple of weeks had passed away. And so I have been dealing with that, and we just had the memorial on Saturday. And yeah, it was a rough time. Marco, hey, thanks, man. So that's where I've been. It has been, a trying time for sure. I was like on hospital duty for much of that time. Thanks, Marco. Yeah, I appreciate it. Like, you don't have to, I appreciate the sympathy and by all means feel free to say whatever you like, but trust me, I understand it's an awkward thing to talk about, but I just want to kind of let you guys know. So yeah, I went through all that, like went through the hospital stuff, was actually there when she passed away and had to organize the funeral. And yeah, I mean, it was like having to do a lot of stuff that you don't anticipate having to do. And I bring that up not just to bum everyone out, which I do not mean to do, but that is the springboard for some other stuff that I'm going to talk about. It's unpleasant. If any of you have ever had to go through that, I will. My heart goes out to you. It's unpleasant for everyone involved. And the other thing that was a pain in the ass, here's lesson one that I want to bring up. One of the things I wanted to bring up is she did not leave a will, which complicates everything. So lesson number one from your old pal Bo tonight, no matter who you are and what age you are, if you have anything, if you have so much as a bank account, spend the $100-$200 to get yourself a will and give it to somebody, give someone a copy of it, and someone who is close to you. It has complicated matters intensely. You just gotta, like, all the normal stuff is going to happen. Like my brother and I are going to inherit some stuff. It's just going to make all of that require an attorney and have to go through a probate court or chancery court and all that kind of stuff. It's just a real pain in the ass and costly to boot. So do your old pal Bo a favor. Get yourself a will if you don't have one. Especially, Jesus, if you're a person who has kids, get yourself a will. Don't fuck around. As a friend of mine once put it, if you want to give the finger to your survivors from the afterlife, then don't have a will, because it's a real fuck you to everyone that is left to clean up that mess. So, okay, here's the other part of that. In addition, you should get a will. Please get a will. You owe it to yourself and to your loved ones. The other thing is, I am kind of coming into possession of her home, which is why I'm kind of not in my usual space. This is going to be the new office. It's just, it's going through the growing pains right now. I don't have all my stuff here yet, and we're still kind of working all that out. So, but yeah, I'm going to be, it's kind of nice. My commute has suddenly become much longer than it has been in 5 years, 6 years, something like that. I got to drive to and from work, and it's kind of a haul. But the house is kind of away from things. So in the mornings, there's like when I got up this morning, there's a low fog over the yard. And, I'm sitting on about an acre of land and see deer all the time and can step out on the deck behind the house and have a cup of coffee and whatnot. It's really nice. Like, it's a terrible way to come into possession of a home, but there you have it. But yeah, so over the next few weeks, you're going to see like an evolution as I kind of play around. Like obviously the lighting is not great right now, and I've got to get all that stuff here and blah, blah, blah. But I didn't want to go another week without doing one of these. So yeah, this will be the actual home office studio. And it's got, you guys can't see it all right now. I'll give you guys a tour at some point, but got some room for the green screen, and I'm going to be able to do some soundproofing and that kind of thing that I wouldn't be able to do in an apartment setting. So yeah, I mean, that part of it, I mean, again, it's a terrible way to have this happen, but also, I got kind of a studio now, and that's kind of cool. So I'm looking forward to playing around with the space a little bit more, and we'll continue to do that. But one other quick note about my recent, departure from life, other than hospitals and funerals, is the Patreon stuff. We're actually recording a new episode of the Patreon this very evening. So what I want to do is I want to have a commentary drop on the 1st and the 15th of every month. Obviously, just given everything that was happening, I wasn't able to do that for the 1st. So we're going to play a little catch up, and there'll be a commentary dropping again, probably Tuesday, Wednesday, something like that we're going to record tonight. And it's on the movie The Beyond, which I'm real excited to talk about, and it's going to be with Darren Wilson from Psychosemantic and VD Clinic, and David Anders Jr. from Devour the Podcast fame. So the three of us are going to sit down and watch The Beyond and goof off. And as soon as I wrap this up, that's what we're going to do. So I'm real excited to jump into that. So yeah, like all of that to say that sorry I've been away. It was completely unavoidable. I know you understand. For those of you who were kind of in the know and sent me messages and whatnot, I really appreciate it. It does mean a lot, one thing that was really nice as I was kind of going through this whole experience was, hey Paul, what's going on, man? But as I was going through all this, one thing that kept coming up over and over again was, you start to think about like what you've done with yourself, and like, what if that was me and I were in that position? And one thing that I'm real proud of is what we've done here at Legion Podcast, and the people that are listening and the people that are producing shows and all that stuff. I'm very proud of it. And I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to be producing shows again and getting back into the swing of things, and also just to be back amongst all you fine people. So thank you. I appreciate it. And also, not only do I appreciate it, I feel like any member of this community pretty much that put out a call for help, I think people would be there, and that feels good too. I feel like this community is one I'm real proud of, and can continue to be proud of it. Okay, so enough of that shit. Let's talk about horror movies and not real life horrors. So I've been doing this, watching a horror movie a day thing before being interrupted, and then I kind of caught back up with it. And so a lot of movies I've been watching for no good reason other than maybe it's kind of comfort food, which is another problem I've had recently. Like I had a pretty good diet going on. I don't mean diet like I was like, putting myself on a diet. I just mean I was eating better and cooking my own meals and stuff. And then I started going to the hospital and ate just shit. And I got to get back to eating decent food again. What was the point of that? Oh yeah, junk food. So I have weirdly been on a kick where I've been watching a lot of found footage movies, and especially Amazon Prime. For whatever reason, I've just been searching Amazon Prime for found footage. And as a result, I have seen things like Be My Cat and Screamers and Hell House LLC 2, the Abaddon Hotel or whatever. And what else? Fraser Park Recut and The Monster Project and, a bunch of movies like that. And I have found... like I said, they were oddly comforting to me. because they all fall into kind of one category or another. There's the, hey, we're going to go investigate this haunted house slash asylum slash hotel or whatever, and we don't believe that there's stuff there, but whoops, turns out haunted. So, in fact, you could just call most found footage movies, whoops, it's haunted, and you wouldn't be wrong. Yeah, Abraham is saying he loves found footage movies. Andrew, what's going on, Andrew? Saying that Amazon Prime has some good stuff, but also a lot of crap. Yeah, I've been mostly watching the crap, apparently, but that's kind of okay with me in a weird way. I've enjoyed it. But so there's the whoops, it's haunted subgenre. Then there's the, hey, we have to investigate this thing we saw online, and it turns out that it's, spooky or haunted or murderous. And all of those movies end one of two ways, where it's like, oh my god, there's a secret villain, or just everyone dies. Are the two ways that found footage movies end. And because I've been watching a bunch of them recently, I have found myself kind of embracing those tropes in a way. And even when they're done kind of shittily, I have been really digging it. It's just one of those things, like, I've been going to bed and throwing on a found footage movie and watching that from the comfort of the bed and really enjoying it. And I like it. I like found footage movies. I'm coming clean. I feel like I can finally look you people in the eye and say, I like found footage movies. And it's a real love-hate situation with me on those movies, because on the one hand, I know most of them aren't very good, but there's something about the premise I like. And in particular, there's one movie called Screamers, which I'll talk more about it on the Devour the Podcast review thing when I speak very specifically about the movie. But what I will say about that is, one thing it gets very right is the fidelity of it, where it feels like real people doing a real thing, or it struck me that way, certainly. And where it fell down, strangely, was in the scares. Like, the scares are kind of shitty in that movie. I think Dread Central produced it or presented it or something. Mentioned it to Duncan, and he was like, oh, the Dread Central movie, he said. Paul says Hell House LLC is great. The sequel is okay. Yeah, I don't think that sequel's real good. I think that's it's not terrible, but it's not very good. FF Anonymous. What is that? I don't know what that is. Is that a movie, Andrew? I don't know the lingo these days. The kids with their slang and their ham radios and hula hoops. Yeah, so Screamers I thought was pretty good. Be My Cat, which I talked about on the last review episode for Devour the Podcast. That's one of those movies where it's just like, hey, a crazy guy is Found Footage Anonymous, Andrew says. Yeah, I need to join that. Step one is admitting that you love found footage. But yeah, Be My Cat. Have you any of you guys seen Be My Cat, a film for Anne, which is available on Amazon Prime? If not, I kind of recommend it. It's an uncomfortable watch in a lot of ways, but I kind of dig it. I thought it was a cool movie. But yeah, it was a realization I had recently that I'm more of a found footage fan than I think I would have copped to prior to the past couple of weeks, where when I wanted to watch a horror movie, but I didn't really want to think about something too long, that's what I watched. It was just like, where can I find another movie where a bunch of kids are like, let's go into this house. I heard it was haunted as fuck. Surely not. Let's take some cameras. Paul's saying he has not seen Be My Cat, but you listened to DTP today. Thanks, man. Yeah, man, it's Be My Cat is a really weird movie about a Romanian dude what thinks he's going to make a movie and send it to Anne Hathaway, the actress, and convince her to come to Romania to allow herself to be directed by this guy. But it turns out he's just real cray cray and is killing actresses. It's Oh man, it's good. Well, is it? I don't. It's one of those movies like I can't recommend this to anyone because it's really sordid and kind of sleazy, but it goes places, and even the end of it, I felt it has a really odd ending, but it's also consistent with that character, and the guy Andre something or other. Hold on, I'll get his name here as we're chatting, but he is incredibly convincing. Adrian Tofai is the guy's name, and he's very convincing as just a world class wackadoo, for what that's worth. Paul says Chaos Brief is a decent found footage alien movie that came out this year. Also has a gay man as the lead and was directed by a gay man, so I tried to support. Yeah, that's cool. Especially if, like, here's the next step in representation in my mind is you stop making it a big deal, right? That it's not like this is a gay horror film. Instead, it's just a horror film with a gay lead in it. And it's just like, oh, there's not a deal here. This isn't a movie for and about, gay men or gay women. It's just like, oh no, this is a horror movie, and it reminded me of, that reminds me of Unfriended Dark Web. Vanessa and I chatted about that movie on a Devour the Podcast bonus episode last month, I want to say. And how there's a lesbian couple in that movie, and that's sort of how it's treated. And it's like, oh, well, this is kind of where we're headed, right? It's just like, oh, there's a lesbian couple. It's not ever played salaciously, or it's not even a big deal. It's something that's barely discussed in the film. It's just like, oh, okay, it just has become this casual thing. Yeah, it's good. So yeah, I'm curious. I'll check out Chaos Brief when I can. Andrew says, from your review, it sounds, is he playing a character that sounds stalkerish, or is he genuinely a stalker playing it off as a character? Either way, sleazy. Well, that's kind of the rub of the movie, right? Is he playing a character who is a stalker, or is he himself a stalker? And there's kind of a point in the movie where he's like, oh, I have become this character. And the question, it's not even a question, it's just sort of open to your interpretation, was he ever just a normal dude? Clearly not normal, but was he ever non-violent? Was he ever not the stalker that he was pretending to be and then said he had become? I don't know. But it's interesting, and his character is what makes the movie kind of work, is that he is so obsessive and borderline violent, but he's also kind of sympathetic at times, and you just have to see it. So check out Be My Cat, and then we'll reconvene. Abraham says, have you seen Exists? I thought it was one of the better found footage films and one of the best Bigfoot flicks. I agree. I have my problems with Exists in that I don't think that the characters are great, but I am completely down for a good Bigfoot movie. And I think the end of that movie kind of goes places. I don't want to give it away if you haven't seen Exist, but yeah, it's an all right found footage movie. And like I said, I'm kind of in the bag for those movies a little bit more than I might have copped to. And you throw in some Bigfoot and then have it get violent, I'm pretty good. Paul says, I know what you mean. It feels clunky to say it, but the film has credits to a gay film alliance or something. Yeah. No, I'm not dismissing it. Like, I don't know that we're at that point yet where we can just be like, it's cool, everybody, let's all join hands and we can have gay characters in films and nobody ever blinks an eye. I don't know that we're there yet, but I do like the fact that a big, not a big studio film, but a studio film like Unfriended Dark Web has the sensibility to make that move of like, oh, we're going to have a gay couple and it's just not going to be a thing that anyone ever really comments on. And that to me is where true equality lies, where it's just like, oh no, that's just a couple, not a gay couple. And that's probably being a little, Pollyanna-ish about the politics of that. But yeah, that's what I believe. I'm all for inclusion and representation and that kind of thing. But I also believe that the ultimate goal of that inclusion and representation is to reach the point where inclusion and representation is the standard. And so that seeing a movie that's just a bunch of white dudes with a couple of blonde white ladies scattered in is the exception and not the rule. Where it's like, oh, well, these, it almost feels like the filmmakers are making a point of making this about Caucasians, Andrew says, I saw a weird, cool movie too on Amazon Prime called Lulu. I recommend that. I have not seen Lulu, but I will look it up. I'm starting to put together my next round 07 movies, so I'll try to hit Lulu and Chaos Brief both. Sorry, I'm a little gassy. Somebody needs to pat my back. Stupid. So, what else? The YouTube channel here, again, if you haven't subscribed, please do. We're 11 people away from having our own URL, and that's pretty cool. Very excited about that. Once I get more of the new studio set up, we're going to be doing some more video stuff. I want to do some more video reviews, things like that. There lies the future, I feel. So yeah, make sure if you haven't subscribed that you do subscribe. Also, hey, if you would, jump by Devour the Podcast on Facebook or Legion Podcasts on Facebook. And if you have more suggestions for movies, to watch for, Spooktober, drop me a line and let me know what, you think I should watch. Because again, if left to my own devices, I will do nothing but watch more movies about people, what are going to some haunted warehouse, to debunk some ghosts or whatnot. So I got a couple, and I appreciate that, Lulu and Chaos Brief. And I will check those out. So, hey, let's, if you guys have any questions, throw them my way while you guys are asking any questions you may or may not have. And feel free to ask me anything. I will be brutally honest. I don't know why I said that. I can't imagine what we'd be brutally honest about in this setting. But let's talk about what movies are coming. Obviously, it's October. At the beginning of the month, the big streaming services dumped a bunch of horror movies. I'm not going to talk about those. Instead, let's just talk about what's coming between now and when next we speak. Netflix has two things I'm excited about, both of them dropping on Friday, this coming Friday. One is the new Gareth Evans movie called Apostle, which stars Dan Stevens from The Guest, which I think is a fantastic movie. Gareth Evans is the guy who directed The Raid and Raid 2, Electric Boogaloo. The Raid movies are some of the best action movies you'll ever see. The Raid 2 is kind of, for me, it's the Godfather 2 of action movies. It took everything that was good about the first one and made it even better. Oh my God, that fucking movie, man. Hammer Girl alone. I kind of have a crush on this petite girl what smacks people in the head with hammers. The Haunting of Hill House, the Mike Flanagan series, also drops on Friday, and I can't wait to see that. The early reviews for that thing have been fucking amazing. And I'm trying not to get too hyped for it, but I'm starting to get kind of hyped for it because it's Mike Flanagan doing Haunting of Hill House, and reviews are like, no, this is fucking great. Quit screwing around and watch Haunting of Hill House. The Raid 2, the Raidening. Yeah, oh man. With Raiden, the lightning sorcerer. Man, the Raid 2 is so good. If you've never seen either of those movies, start with the Raid, then watch the Raid 2, and then come back and thank me. Over on Hulu, on Wednesday, they're dropping the movie What We Become, which is kind of a zombie flick. Sort of a high-minded zombie flick. It's not just a typical, zombie siege kind of movie. And then on the 12th, Hulu is dropping its new series, Light as a Feather, which is a movie about some kids who are playing the light as a feather, stiff as a board game, and things go awry and get supernatural and shit. Low Life, Paul says, was added to Hulu as well. So, nice. Amazon, on the 11th, The Strangers Prey at Night drops on Amazon Prime, which is a movie that I did not think was very good. I think it's fine. It's fine. I don't think it's great. It's fine. It's a little too John Carpenter-ish, and I urge you, the new episode of Pick Six Movies, which will be dropping this Friday, is on Memoirs of an Invisible Man. And there is much, the introduction is all about John Carpenter, and I think you'll enjoy that. I hope. But anyway, Strangers Prey at Night. If you haven't seen it, is it worth a watch? If there's nothing else going on, I wouldn't say go out of your way to watch Strangers Prey at Night. And Shudder has been dropping movies on the regular for October as well. They should. I mean, it's fucking a horror streaming service. Get your shit together, Shudder. They're doing fine. I don't know why I'm angry at them. Hey, today, this very day, they dropped Late Phases, which is the movie. I can't think of the actor's name. He's in all the Jim Mickle films. He plays Mister in Stakeland and Stakeland 2. At any rate, that guy is in Late Phases. He plays a guy who moves to a retirement community, and there's a werewolf about. And it's got kind of a shitty werewolf, but other than that, it's pretty good. And the real winner of the two dropping today is A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night, which is an Iranian, I want to say. Maybe? Iranian vampire film that's super stylized, like it's all in black and white, and it's definitely a slow burn movie. It's very artsy fartsy, but I really loved it. I thought it was a really impressive film. And then on the 11th, Stephen McHattie. No, it's not Stephen McHattie. I would know that because of my Pontypool love. I'll look it up here. In fact, I'll do it right now. Let's get to the bottom of this. Stakeland, Nick D'Amici is the guy's name. Is in Late Phases. And on the 11th, Shudder is dropping a movie called Terrified that sounds really cool. And the premise escapes me right now, but I remember reading the synopsis for it and thinking that it sounded quite good. So Terrified is coming on the 11th, and then I'll be back next week and we'll talk about what's coming up after that. So Abraham Ram asks, who do you dislike more as a director, Eli Roth or James Wan? Oh man, that's a real Sophie's choice of bad directors. Not bad. Eli Roth is where I land on this one, and I'll tell you why. I think James Wan is a derivative and unexciting director. I think he's essentially been making the same horror film for a while and with a slightly different story. But they're competently done, and they're fine. I don't like. I give Jamie a real hard time about liking those movies. They're fine. I don't respond to them. It's not my flavor of horror film, but they're I would call them inoffensive. They're nice popcorn horror films, and that's kind of what they are. And Eli Roth, on the other hand, I think is someone. I fundamentally disagree, I think, with his ethos, with his personal philosophy, with his moral philosophy that is instilled in his films. Movies like Knock Knock and Aftershock, and even the way that he handles some of the characters in Green Inferno. I think that he's kind of a bro and just kind of a meathead, and I don't care for that. I'm curious, I haven't watched any of is the AMC documentary series out yet that he's doing, the conversations with other horror directors? That might be good. I don't know. I just think that like I said, it's the reason I don't like the movie Terrifier, which somebody mentioned in relation to the movie Terrified. Because, all movies kind of have a moral philosophy of one stripe or another. Even if they don't mean to, they do. And so you can tell a lot about the director or writer of a film based on who the hero is and what they're put through and things like that. There is a philosophy to all of that. All movies are telling some kind of story, and there is a morality to that, even if the morality is an absence of morality. And I think that's why I don't like Terrifier. Terrifier is a nihilist film that doesn't have a hero. It doesn't have a protagonist. It's just a series of awful things that happen to the characters in that film. And there are people who are like, that's fucking right. That movie is sadistic and bleak, and that's why I love it. And that's fine if that's what you're into. I can't argue that. But I can also argue my point of view, which is, no, I feel like I need that in a film. And even if the film is a little rebel and a little, throwing up the devil horns and being nihilistic, I prefer something like Escape from New York that is pointedly nihilistic. Like when Snake Plissken destroys that tape at the end of Escape from New York, he's doing it in response to a government that doesn't care about its people. And so anarchy makes sense to him philosophically. Whereas Terrifier, I would argue, is just kind of pointless violence, and it doesn't really rise much beyond that. And again, if that's your flavor, then by all means, it's just not mine. So Terrified, by the way, is it's a foreign film. Looks like, is it Spanish? Yeah, it's an Argentinian film, which is summarized: when strange events occur in a neighborhood in Buenos Aires, a doctor specializing in the paranormal, her colleague, and an ex-police officer decide to investigate further. And it sounded kind of cool just because of the range of weird shit that was happening in this neighborhood. So, seemed cool. What else did I leave out? Paul saying he's pumped for The Apostle. The guests in the raid are the best. Very true. Low Life is on Hulu. I think we said that. Andrew saying it would be nice if Netflix put up those raid movies in their library. Usually when they have an original movie from a director, they put their previous stuff on there. I would love to see that. I agree. Andrew says Strangers Pray at Night 2 has Christina Hendricks in it. That's reason to see Strangers 2. I would normally agree with you, but she's in it, 10 minutes more than I am? She doesn't make it long. Spoilers. Paul saying Low Life is fantastic. We interviewed a couple of people attached. I remember that episode. Paul says, Who's Watching Oliver was added to Amazon Prime. I haven't seen it, but heard it's great. Okay, I'll check that out. That's 3. Is that right? Andrew says, reason to see Who's Watching Oliver. Sarah Malakul Lane. She's a beauty. Does a lot of B- movies for better or worse. Okay. I got into a big discussion today about the actress Lacey Chabert, who I did not know her by name, and then realized that I knew her from that Black Christmas remake. And some guys at work were like, hey man, you should check out Lacey Chabert. She's a real hottie, eh? I don't know why. I work with Bob McKenzie, apparently. You should check her. She's got a really big rack, eh? Anyway. So God, we're such shitballs. Anyway. Yeah, so that is, I think that's it. I think that's going to be this episode. Again, if you haven't subscribed to Patreon and have any interest in the commentaries we're doing over there, it's $2 a month. It's $1 a commentary, and you help support Legion Podcasts. So if you can spare a couple of bucks, we certainly appreciate it. And we've just done our first month, and have a few patrons over there. Have 3 fine folks patronizing Legion Podcasts. So look, Abraham, my Canadian impression is always Bob and Doug McKenzie. That is where I got it from. That happened at a young age, and it will continue to be so. So yeah. At any rate, like I was saying, hey, we appreciate the patronage over there. Now that I'm not spending my evenings in depressing hospital rooms, then I fully intend to do more Patreon related stuff. Also, I'm going to be talking with Misty from Legion After Dark, and she's going to do some Patreon exclusive stuff to kind of sweeten the pot a little bit. If you want something that just ain't us goofing on a movie, but want something a little sexy, we're probably going to have something over there pretty soon. So, at any rate, like I said, if you decide you want to become a patron of Legion Podcast and help out the other shows, I absolutely mean this. All the money that we are accumulating there is going to server costs. Once we spill over that amount, then it's all going to go to other stuff for the network. It's, none of that stuff goes in my pocket. Even though, folks, let me tell you this before we leave. I know, we got a little time. It's just us. So, I told you, I gotta, fell ass backwards into home ownership. One thing that my mom was not crazy about doing was cleaning the basement. Which at one time was a finished basement, and then there was some flooding, and all the carpeting and paneling and that kind of thing got pulled out, and it's just never been refinished after it was initially finished. So for several years now, she has largely ignored that space, and it's not a wreck or anything. It's not just a bunch of boxes piled up and cobwebs and that kind of thing, but there's a fair amount of bugs in the basement, some crickets and some spiders and shit like that. Bugs what enjoy dark, wet places or damp places. It's not wet, it's just damp because it's a basement. And I am not a fan of them type of bugs. So it hasn't happened yet. It's about to happen over the next couple of days. But there is about to be a bug apocalypse in this house. I'm about to wage war against the insects in the basement so I can clean that up and start using it as real space again. Initially, it'll probably be storage. But at any rate, point of that is, going downstairs Saturday night, it was after we did the funeral, coming home from the funeral, doing some laundry, doing real pedestrian shit. I got to go downstairs through the basement to the washer and dryer. And there is a spider that, hand to God, I'm going to give you a size, and you're going to say, that's crazy, Bo. Or you're going to be like, that's it. But this spider is about this big around. And, that's leg splayed and whatnot. But it's on the wall directly as I go down the basement steps. Just kind of chilling on the wall. And, I have to have that discussion with myself where I'm like, I got to do laundry, and I can't just set fire to the basement like I want to in that instance. I got nothing. I can't just throw a shoe at it because that's just going to piss the thing off. I made the joke I was going to take a picture of it, but it took my phone away. I was like, give me that. So anyway, so I have to go down the steps and then make the left at the bottom of the steps, and I tried to not hurry my walk. Of just look, it's a spider, it's big, I understand that, and I just have a fear of spiders, always have. Which actually goes back to when I was a kid. In that very basement, when it was finished, there was a spider down there when I was a kid that freaked me the fuck out. So it was one of those things where your childhood comes back. Maybe it's the same spider that's hey, remember me, pal? So yeah, I scoot along the wall a little bit and try to give the spider some space in case it's one of them jumping spiders. And, you put the clothes in the laundry. I come back into the basement. Spider's still hanging out on the wall. I cruise by him again. I'm just that spider. I can't bring myself to kill it because I don't have anything big enough on me that I feel confident would do the job. And also, the fuck do you do with a spider body that big? I would have to call an ambulance. So I go back upstairs, and then when I come down to do the dryer, move the clothes from the washer or the dryer, the spider's gone, and I'm like, yay, wait a second, that fucking spider's still here. now I just can't see him. But here's the good thing. Spiders tend to be cannibals, or between the species they are. So if you got one big spider, it means you don't have a bunch of little ones. So just the next time I see this thing, I gotta take it down. It's Mono v Spidero. But like I said, I stocked up on some chemicals last night. I'm ready to go. Probably tomorrow afternoonish. Got a few things to do errand-wise tomorrow, which is my day off. And but once those things are done, I'm strapping on the gear, going down there and waging battle against the insects that have called the basement here home for a couple of years now. Brimley v. Spider. Yeah. Listen here, goddammit. This basement ain't big enough for the both of us. Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. So anyway, like, you got that to look forward to on the Morbid Mondays moving forward, is me bitching about home ownership and whatnot. But it's cool. Like, I got a lot of space to do kind of fun shit now. And I got room for a bedroom, an office like this, a guest bedroom, and the goal is ultimately to get the basement cleaned up, to get some repairs done down there, and then to refinish it, and then maybe sell the house. But in the meantime, I'm gonna put a home theater, I think, down there, which will be kind of cool. So, fun stuff. A lot of work, but I'm excited. And again, thanks everybody for hanging out here tonight. And for all the well wishes and stuff while I was away, and for your patience and all that kind of stuff. But fuck that, that's all done with. We're about to do some cool shit around here. So get your ass ready, pal. So, hey, Andrew says, I've got 8 legs and I'm aiming to use all of them if you don't rethink your life. I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you one goddamn chance. Here's the deal. I see your ass again, you are dead. That's a Brimley promise. Abraham says, Duncan and Bo versus home ownership. Now that's a podcast I'd listen to. Yeah, wait, I'll have to ask Duncan how much work he does around. He does too much podcasting to do anything around his house. That's all Corinne. Or maybe Winter. So, but that would be a fun podcast to do with him, of just he and I bitching about, like, leaf blowers. Which I need a leaf blower. Can you believe that? I got this long driveway and there are trees that line it. I got to get a leaf blower because I ain't sweeping that shit. Anyway, it's all problems that I'm kind of happy to have now. So, hey, folks, do me a favor if you would. If you're listening to the shows here on the podcast network, make sure you're subscribing. Make sure that you rate them, you review them. Make sure that you're giving them a thumbs up, all that kind of stuff. It's always appreciated. The subscribing is very important. If you know somebody who's interested in podcasts or interested in horror movies and you think that they would enjoy some of the podcasts on the network, please, if you would, tell anyone you can, however you can. We appreciate that. And it's our best way of advertising, is just you saying, hey, if you like horror movies or you like horror podcasts or you want to watch, a chubby fella on Monday nights talk about home ownership and funerals, I got just the ticket. So if you would, please do that. And then one last favor I have to ask of you, as I do every Morbid Monday. Folks, if you would, have a fantastic rest of the week. Have a great weekend. And I'll see you right back here on the very next Morbid Monday. So bye, everybody. Thanks.